Can you tell us anything about who you're throwing out there?
No.
News team, assemble!
It's back and bigger than ever. It's the unofficial 40 from Soonerscoop.com. Now, here's the entire Sooner Scoop crew. Carey, Josh, Eddie, and Bob.
All right, welcome back. It is another edition. It is a game week edition, ladies and gentlemen, of the Unofficial 40 podcast. The entire crew is here to join you as the Sooners get ready to take on the Houston Cougars on Sunday. Sunday and not Saturday is ABC. Is ABC or ESPN televising this bad boy?
It's ABC.
I've seen the commercial. Like, for me, it didn't really get real until I started seeing the promos on ESPN. I was like, damn, OU's playing a big football game this weekend. So welcome to the program. Josh McQuistion, the Golden Pipes of Josh McQuistion joins us. I did chide him a little bit before the podcast started about his microphone acumen. So, Josh, you did not escape my wrath today. I'm sorry.
Well, why would this day be any different than the rest? I mean, something I had to have screwed up.
I wouldn't say that I say you screw things up. I just bitch a lot. Eddie Radosevich is here as well. Eddie has been handling national media guys who ask loaded questions in the last 24 hours.
Well, I mean, it comes with the territory when you ask somebody if he throws the football, how he throws the football.
Well, it was such a loaded question too. I'm going to play this real quick. We're talking about Dennis Dodd, who was in town from CBS Sports, which I'm surprised.
He's already
to
off
be
on
honest with you, I mean, like you say,
it's a bad start. I know he's a Cardinals fan, so that's a bad start.
Teleconferences. What was it? The American Athletic Conference killed
ACC.
their ACC killed their teleconference. Which Eddie has been correct on this. It is for the olds. It's not necessary. And the only people that get on those are people at little tiny radio stations that nobody listens to anymore.
It's
like
shocking to me
news talk
sometimes
radio
the stuff that we
stations or
have to go through as far as a teleconference.
You rarely ever get anything
place
out of it
in a
either.
teleconference. The coaches don't want to be there. The media that are there have been up for like 9 hours because it's usually at 9 a.m.
Yeah.
It's like it's right in the Olds playbook, though.
And so, to me,
I bet, in fact, I would say, let me add this. I bet 90% of the people that actually participate and use the teleconference are calling in from their home phone.
See, you're surprised. I bet that's right. And they have equipment from 1980.
Oh, they're recording the phone off the hook. Still on the.
It's that thing, the little suction cup that goes on the landline. So anyway, that's one thing that you've earmarked that needs to be gotten rid of. It's past its time. I agree. To me, CBS Sports, I'm surprised it still survives to this day because other than just having massive amounts of money and CBS, the network, but CBS Sports itself, everybody remembers, well, not you guys probably, Bob probably remembers this, Josh maybe remembers, Sportsline was one of the first things on the internet. It was a big damn deal. And CBS bought Sportsline, and so you had CBS Sportsline, and it was, I hate to say this, it was kind of like Yahoo, and they both kind of, filtered away as time goes on. Google came up, and then, ESPN came up, and CBS went down, and so, that they have a national columnist to me is still surprising. And it's Dennis Dodd, and he was here yesterday, and he'd asked the loaded question, because he's trying to make national news. I mean, probably he wants his name on a story, but it wouldn't have happened because it all would have been aggregated out and would have blown up and all that stuff. But he asked Jalen Hurts.
He didn't, because he didn't stay for Jalen.
Or not? He asked CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb. I think his question is on. Yeah, it is because I bumped it up. Here it is.
That's probably the biggest thing.
No, that wasn't it.
Okay, 0 for 1.
Let's try it again. I definitely hit the wrong thing. Here we go.
How's his ball compared to Baker and Kyler?
You can really compare those. I mean, shit.
CeeDee.
At the end of the day, he's still
2019,
a ball,
Eddie.
But
Are they softer, more accurate, less accurate?
Not. I don't know how to really answer that one.
He throws it overhand, though.
Yeah, most definitely.
So there was Eddie's little shot at the loaded question.
It's just funny.
Do we really have to ask that question, though? Like, we've seen Jalen Hurts throw the ball. Like, it's not going to be a surprise.
I just never know.
Spencer Rattler,
that's
if
not,
you ask him, that you haven't seen Spencer Rattler, so it's okay, I think, to ask that question, but not to Jalen Hurts.
That's not the first time that question's been asked or the first time that question's been posed, but I always wonder, like, what are they trying to get out of that? Is it more of just hearing yourself talk to ask a question and be there, or do you really want to know? Like,
I'm going to say this. From a national perspective, it's a legitimate question. I know you don't want to hear that, but it is a legitimate question.
I guess I don't understand.
In March,
I don't understand it.
Yeah,
that's
true.
August 28th.
Not before the first game.
They've been working together for 8 months together now.
Yeah, if you're coming out of spring, and you haven't, everything's closed and it's before the scrimmage or something like that, maybe. But that's completely loaded.
And I think everybody is like this way
to start the podcast.
Well, no, we're just at the point where it's like, okay, even yesterday's availability probably didn't even need to happen because there's nothing else we can ask these guys. I can tell you though that, and Carey, you put it out there this morning. I believe we're going to get a depth chart while we record
as we do the podcast.
Breaking news.
You're going to get a live breakdown.
Yeah, we'll give you our instant reactions. Like, no need for an emergency pod. It'll be happening as we're doing this.
It's just happening.
Something break in the other room.
I heard something fall, but I don't know what it was.
Expensive things in the other room. So I tell you what, let's start this way before we get into a lot of team stuff, because Josh might have to bolt out of here early. He's headed to Frisco tonight to see Nate, not Alexander, but Anderson. For Frisco Reedy, my nephew's high school. And so, Josh, let's start out with recruiting because, people were asking me this morning. I think even someone asked me, like, is this the biggest recruiting weekend in OU history? Like, I was like, no. What gives you that impression? But it's not the biggest weekend in history, but tell us what is happening this weekend with OU in regards to recruiting.
It's a really solid start. Honestly, when Bob and I talked about this on the pod a couple of weeks ago, what this weekend could look like, frankly, it's come out a little better than I thought it would. You look down the list, Anton Harrison, Aaryn Parks, probably at this point with the commitment of Jonah Monheim to USC, probably Oklahoma's top two most likely offensive line targets. Aaryn Parks being a top 60 guy in the country, Anton Harrison being a Rivals 250 guy. They're very elite offensive linemen who are both coming in this weekend for their official visits. You look on the defensive side of the ball, Trayvon Ripka, a Kentucky commitment, Phillip Webb, a Rivals 100 linebacker from Georgia. One of the really interesting ones, kind of staying on that Georgia note, is Jaheim Bell from Valdosta, Georgia, a guy that, I always tell people, okay, he's listed as an athlete, whatever. In this case, there really does seem to be okay, he's big, he's fast, he's talented. We'll find somewhere for him to fit in. Like, I really don't get the indication that there is a clear idea at this moment where he'll fit into this class if he was to commit. So he'll be a really interesting guy to watch, plays a lot of receiver at Valdosta, but he does, like I said, 6'3", 210, can run. You can use the guys like that at a lot of different places. So we'll kind of see what plays out. The guys that I am really watching, though, I think when you say, okay, who do we want to keep an eye on? I think Noah Arinze, the defensive end from Webster Groves, that's felt like a win, not if situation for a long time, but we're getting to the tail end of that. It's kind of like Jonah Monheim. At some point, your momentum just regresses. And I think that's after this weekend, if he leaves campus and hasn't either given Oklahoma a clear indication of I'm coming or something else, they're going to have to make some choices. They can't wait on him forever. They need bodies on the defensive line, and he's a guy they want, but at some point you've got to make sure that you're not left standing when the music stops. So he's a guy to watch. And Ramon Henderson, he's listed as a wide receiver on Rivals, but I am told he is a cornerback target, kid out of Bakersfield, California, that really Oklahoma hadn't felt like they were that involved with until here recently, and it's really picked up over the last few weeks. He's coming in. I think most people think he's a Notre Dame lean right now, but Oklahoma could make a big run there. And then, I mean, we can go down the list further, but you get into 2021 and 2022, and that's where I see a little bit different group than some weekends we've seen in the past where there maybe was a little light on the younger guys. They've got a lot of good big-time guys with offers coming to campus.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that is because it's Sunday night. You don't have to worry about someone playing a late game Friday night and having to be in Norman by 11 o'clock in the morning the very next day. Now, I mean, they can go to like Texas or go to any other school they want on Saturday and still be able to get to Norman on Sunday night, and Labor Day being Monday. I mean, obviously, I'll be back for high school practice in the afternoon, but they can take their time and really make this as big as they possibly want to. And another name I want to talk about, is it big at this point to get Jace McClellan back on campus?
I think it is, and it was one of those things that I think is interesting because I've talked before. His mother, Mia, is somebody I talk to a lot. I talk to her, frankly, much more than I talk to Jace. And speaking to her, she's always very open with, when I'll hit her up early in the week, hey, you guys coming? It's usually like, we'll know Thursday night, Friday morning. Like, they don't usually plan that far out in advance just because she's got grandkids that she helps with. She's got other children. I mean, there's just a lot of moving parts in their world. And so it's hard for her to plan that far in advance. But this week, they were like, oh, yeah, we're booked. We're set up. Everything's, there was no doubt. So I think it is a really good sign because there have been a lot of rumors and innuendo that something is not right with McClellan in Oklahoma. But every time you talk to them, they act like this is fine. We're great. I know she's got a great relationship with the coaching staff. There's a lot of familiarity and trust there. And so I think Oklahoma is in a really good place with him. But at the same time, whenever there are so many schools, when things aren't looking great for the way running back recruiting is going for Texas, or if something doesn't go right at A&M, you don't want anything to be – you don't want to give an excuse for, a school to be able to say, well, why don't you come take a look at us? Why don't you come down to Austin and check everything out? You want to make that as difficult for them to do as possible, and you do that by developing these relationships, and that's something Oklahoma's done very well here.
I'm sorry, I bolted out because we had some banging noise in the other room. I had to go check out. But what maybe you address this. We know from Atlanta that Aaryn Parks, AJ Parks was so enthralled with OU and Bill Bedenbaugh. Is there a chance that he pulls the trigger and just commits this weekend on an official visit?
I wouldn't rule it out, but he is a kid that has already committed once, has backed away from that.
To Penn State, right?
Yeah. He was committed to Penn State for a while. But, I mean, when you talk to people, it doesn't sound like Penn State's all that much of a reality for him. It sounds like he is a kid that is very much considering getting far away from home. I keep hearing OU, A&M, and Alabama with him. And so any of those choices, obviously, far away from home. He has been, we had him on camera. It probably is a good time for us to kind of run that interview back out on Twitter. But he was very open talking to Eddie and I about how much he liked Bill Bedenbaugh, liked Oklahoma's history of offensive linemen and how they're putting guys in the NFL. And when you throw on top of that, he is such an ideal fit for what we talk about every time we talk about offensive linemen in this podcast. He can play guard. He can play tackle. He even played some center at the 5-star. So, I mean, like, that's Bill Bedenbaugh's perfect guy that he can really say, I'm going to put you wherever gives me my best 5. I don't have to put you at left guard because that's the only spot you can play. He gives OU versatility, much in the same way that I think that was part of what they liked about Jonah Monheim. There was that same ability to kind of mix and match their offensive linemen.
Josh, I think it might be a little early to ask this, but is this a either or with Parks or Harrison, or could this be an and situation going down the road?
I think down the road, I'm just one of those people, and I think anybody that listens to me knows this. You've never heard a head coach, an offensive coordinator, anybody on our coaching staff say, we've just got too many good offensive linemen. We just have too many. Like, it's such a small and finite talent or skill to have. You can't find those big guys. And so for me to say, oh, you would just mark these guys off, boy, I don't see it. Now, do I think they could take both this weekend? No. I think they know the numbers aren't there right now. but I think they'll keep, say Parks wanted to get in and they felt really good about Harrison. I think they would still keep recruiting Harrison, still keep working on him. And then if the door opens up later on down the road, hey, come on board. We want you. So there's a lot of hills to go over for both those guys. I don't expect either one to pull the trigger this weekend, but at the same time, and also you add Marcus Dumerville into the conversation as well. So, I mean, I still think in a perfect world, Oklahoma would like there to be 2 more offensive linemen in this class, and I think they'll probably get there, but, it's hard to know for sure at this point.
Biggest, I don't know. Well, let's kind of catch everybody up on 2020 and kind of where the Sooners are. And I know a lot of people are hearing stuff about Texas and, them getting all these commitments recently. But realistically, what is left on 2020? What's the most important thing? We don't even have to get in, potential of a quarterback or anything like that. But what's out there? What do they need? What are they? What are the key areas that they're focusing on right now?
For me, like I said, it's not. It's something everybody takes for granted. They need at least one more offensive lineman, though. I mean, and they'll get their guy. They're going to get a good one. And I think that's why you don't hear a lot of talk about it because it's Bill Bedenbaugh. It's going to work out. I get it. I think where you say, okay, these are positions where Oklahoma needs to add bodies and they need to get the right guys are cornerback and kind of on the edge. If you want to say those down defensive ends or a rush linebacker, you can kind of lump those two together. I mean, they're not interchangeable on the defense, but as far as that's how you can look at it. They need pass rushers and they need corners. That's really where I pick up the emphasis on what's happening in recruiting right now. Part of that is Ramon Harrison coming in this weekend. Part of that is Trayvon Ripka. Part of that is Phillip Webb, who could play that rush linebacker. So they are trying to address it. They're working on all of that. But at the same time, unlike offensive line, you can't see, okay, that guy's clearly the guy. Whether it's Aaryn Parks or Anton Harrison or Marcus Dumerville, you'd bet Oklahoma gets one of those guys in the offensive line. On the defensive line and at rush linebacker, and even at cornerback, I don't know the guy that you say, okay, if all else fails, they'll get him. And so that's where it's interesting. Now, they're doing good work. I mean, they're getting a lot of big-time guys in. I mean, like I said, Ripka's committed to Kentucky, picked them over home state Tennessee. He's got a lot of good offers. OU was his first major offer, so they've done some good job with evaluations, things like that. But at some point, they're going to have to close on these guys. So, like I said, I think it shouldn't be a surprise to any OU fan. Defense is the focus right now because they need to land some of these guys to start to fill in the gaps on that defense.
You know what's funny, Josh, is we all talk about defense. I actually lean toward receiver because we sort of knew Spencer Rattler might scare off 2020 quarterbacks. But have Weiss, Bridges, and Hazelwood scared off 2020 receivers? This is just seems odd to me that they can't land.
There's no momentum either, really.
You're hearing about more targets leaving or they're not recruiting, and Marvin Mims going Stanford, and you had the Bishop Gorman kid end up going to Washington. It feels like those targets are dwindling, and like you said about corner, they're going to get this guy if nothing else. I feel at receiver, there's not one of those guys either.
Well, they had a guy scheduled to come in, and we've talked about this a little bit on the board. Arian Smith from Lakeland, Florida, was expected to come in for an official visit. He was set. And then, as it was explained to me, while Oklahoma was kind of finalizing the trip details, I think the coaching staff at Lakeland realized their game was on Sunday. They didn't know. And I know fans are like, how could they not know? Man, those coaches got 100 things going on. At a place like Lakeland, they've got a bunch of recruits. There's a lot to keep track of. These things can slip through. So what I understand is they found out the game was on Sunday and that his official visit was going to be Saturday through Monday rather than Saturday through late night Sunday or Friday, just kind of depending on how their schedule worked. Well, Lakeland has a rule, and it's kind of an old school coaching staff. If you miss a practice, you don't play the following week. Well, they're practicing on Labor Day Monday on Monday morning, so all the other players can go and spend time with their families and enjoy Labor Day and all that good stuff. Well, there's no way that Oklahoma could have had Aaryn Smith back to Florida for the Monday practice, so he would have had to miss out on their following game. Well, obviously he doesn't want to do that, so the visit ended up getting squashed. But he is a speed guy that really fits what Oklahoma seems to be looking for with the Marvin Mimses and the Gary Bryants. I still think Oklahoma feels they've got a chance with Gary Bryant. I know a lot of people have written them off, and that's fine. I mean, I think I would lean in that direction. But Oklahoma has not given up on Gary Bryant. Do you throw in the Aaryn Smith kid, like I said, who I would expect will reset that official visit? He'll take it at some point. But being a Florida guy, you don't want to wait too long. You don't want to bring him in November. That could be problematic for you. So, like I said, I agree that there's not the obvious choice. Now, I will say the guy in the some of this is born of a lot of OU fans not liking what's there at receiver right now. Brian Darby is flat out a better player than people realize. Like, I don't think he gets his credit for being really, really good. This is a guy that, Dennis Simmons, who landed 3 5-star receivers last year, and Lincoln Riley, who I think we can all agree has a pretty good eye for talent, saw one night at a camp with almost nothing to compete with him, and they were like, we'll offer you and we'll take you right now. That's a pretty bold thing to say when you're OU and can go recruit the country.
Well, and okay, so here's the other thing is when you don't seem to be building momentum and other people do, I think the worst thing that could happen is you kind of lose momentum with the players that you already have committed. Have there been any signs out there that, that OU is in danger of, I mean, we all know about like Jace McClellan and things, but, is there any danger that you've heard or any buzz about any kids maybe looking elsewhere that are already committed?
Not, you mentioned Jason McClellan. I think everybody knows about that. Ryan Watts is one of these ones that you kind of always keep hearing, like, oh, yeah, he's going to look around, he's going to do this. And then as months go by,
he's not doing anything.
Happens.
Right.
Yeah, so like you're like, at some point the rubber has to meet the road. He's going to have to start taking some trips if he's going to, decide in December, which is my understanding of what the plan is. So that, like I said, I'm going to continue to keep an eye on that because I hear that from people I trust. But at the same time, even people that are good and know what's going on, things can change. So you don't ever know how that'll play. The guy that I'm going to keep an eye on, and it's not at all that I'm hearing he's looking around or he's unsure or, anything like that, is Edgerrin Cooper, the linebacker commitment from Louisiana. I know a lot of people that think he could really kind of blow up this year. He could have a huge senior year, and then you start to see, he had some SEC attention, Mississippi State, some of those kind of things. But what happens if LSU gets involved or Auburn gets involved or some of these other little more high-profile SEC programs, and again, especially LSU, the home state school? That's a tough win for Oklahoma. Now, it's not to say they can't do it because they've had all these months of saying, hey, we were there for you, we bought into you, we believed in you. And
he's taking his official this weekend, right?
He is. And that's a huge deal for Oklahoma. I'm going to actually drive over and see him in about 3 or 4 weeks. So, we'll have some video and all this kind of stuff. But some of the early scrimmage stuff I've seen of him, he looks fantastic. So he's a guy that on tape, he's fast and he's a big hitter. Like, what's not to like about that tape? So people will take note of him.
So if you're going to see him in 3 or 4 weeks, that means he'll be decommitted by October 12th, the weekend of October 12th.
Our site, the track record of going to see SEC area talent is just
that's the thing
up.
too.
Have we ever done that?
Like, I already paid Josh for all his trips, so like what? I'm the stupid one. Like, why did I do that, Josh?
We just wait until they do their National Signing Day is what we do.
Well, I mean, I'm going to see Edgerrin. I'm going to see Brock Vandegrift next weekend.
And Josh just can't wait to schedule trips to the SEC country because he's just building up miles on Sooner Scoop's backside, and he's going to end up getting a nice family vacation out of it because he's going to decommit.
Be well earned.
Oh, I'm sorry. Was it not well known that these are just frequent flyer miles for me? That's all. Like, I don't actually go to the games. I farm that work out. I just hang out in the hotel.
That's smart. That's a smart move.
That's what we'll be doing if OU ever goes back to the Russell Athletic Bowl or the Camping World Bowl. Actually,
I didn't have to go to that.
We're just sending Bob. We're not even sending Eddie.
I'm going to Disney World then.
0 for 2.
If you like Orlando and you want to go, that's fine.
Bob,
The
think
worst
long
trip.
and hard
You don't
about
want to go
this.
cover. You
Think
would not
long
go
and
cover that,
hard.
would you,
That
Eddie?
was the worst trip ever.
I could make a really bad
far.
Orlando joke right now if we wanted.
Orlando is
No,
awful.
because I
It's
know
just
where
a-
you're going.
What?
Mass
No, sir.
shootings? No.
No, sir.
No mass shootings.
I wasn't going to
jokes.
say anything about Pulse nightclub, but I might have done. And that
I just
that way
happen
I
to know
did
the
get
nightclub.
that way I did get the name out, so at least that's good for me. Maybe.
Unbelievable.
I think it's better that there's the threat of something that could end us all is there.
Threat level midnight?
Except, no, you can never tell that joke.
No, I wouldn't.
Okay, so anything else that you think deserves to be mentioned recruiting-wise, Josh, with the weekend coming up? Or, I mean, hell, even, what you're up to, what you guys are up to here in the room, Bob and Eddie.
Well, I'll just go briefly, kind of last few things in the weekend. It's just like I mentioned in the lead, 2021, 2022, a lot of big-time guys coming in. You've got in-state guys that are expected, like Ethan Downs, Kendall Daniels. A.J. Green can't make it. One of the ones that's interesting is Bryce Stevens from John Marshall, a guy that I'm really high on. Could be a receiver, could be a corner. He's got the kind of speed that Oklahoma likes in that secondary. So maybe Oklahoma pursues him as a corner and wants him and Green to be their two corners. I mean, both real long speed guys, so you could kind of make sense of that. And then in 2022, Oklahoma's hosting a Marion Harris, a big offensive tackle from Little Rock, that has been he wanted to come to the barbecue, couldn't quite make it. It's going to come out for this event. Mecca Megwa, a big running back from Nolan Catholic in Fort Worth, that is probably the closest thing I've seen to Samaje Perine. I mean, as far as that young and just a massive, jacked up guy. Gentry Williams, the almost no doubt number one guy in the state for 2022, is coming back. He was there for the barbecue. He'll be there for this. I think Oklahoma just continuing to build their lead with him. So, and finally, we mentioned tonight I'll be in Frisco. I'm going to go see Nate Anderson, the offensive line commitment. Tomorrow I'm going to go see Duda Banks, the 2021 defensive end offer. And then on Saturday I'm going to go up to Dallas to watch Broken Arrow play Mansfield, see Andrew Rames, see Marion Horn, who Horn will also be there this weekend at the OU game. So it should be a busy. I mean, it's probably be my only 3-game weekend all season, but I'm looking forward to it.
Josh, let me ask you real quick, just because it's local, or I guess local inside the state, what do you kind of expect out of Broken Arrow this year?
Well, I mean, you look at it, they still seem like the most talented team in the state.
Kind of what I'm thinking.
They're huge up front, as we saw this spring. I mean, they've just got bodies on bodies. A lot of experience coming back. Defensively, I think they're having to replace quite a few parts, so that might be a little interesting to watch early in the year. This is a good test for them. Mansfield is not what they've been, through some of the Kennedy Brooks years. They're not quite on that level, but that's still a really talented team from an area that produces a lot of Division I talent. So they'll have some guys. But no, they would probably be my pick, them or Union. I think they're fairly interchangeable, although I think it's as good a year in 6A as I can remember, because Owasso I could make an argument for, and Jinx is friggin' Jinx. Jinx will be good. We know Adam Gaylor will have that defense kind of back up to the level we're used to, being
no
one of the better.
about that.
So, I mean, other than being a Cubs fan, he's a great guy.
Yeah.
So
that's a chink in the armor.
He's a Bears
there.
fan, too.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
People have lost their
problem.
jaws for saying that, Carey.
I can talk to Adam about Cubs and Bears. It's fantastic.
It will be.
Oh God, I'm never going to be around you.
It's
going to
be.
talk to him.
It's going to be kind of interesting to see what happens in 6A. I do think that now that BA has gotten over that hump, it's going to be interesting to see if they can build on it and kind of become like that it program.
Am I crazy, or did I think that one of you guys told me after the spring that when you saw Jinx, you thought it might not be a good year for them?
I still think I might have said that. I still think that they're probably going to be for Jinx.
Yeah.
And we're using air quotes.
They'd be the
for
best
what they
team on
are.
the West Side.
Sure.
Without question.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any doubt about that.
I mean, and that's sort of, that division is almost getting worse and worse.
Putnam City North's kind of up and coming, but I might be biased.
They got their own stadium now.
That's
that is a beautiful stadium.
Yeah,
How you feel about
maybe a
UConn,
little
Eddie?
bit bigger. What?
I said, how you feeling about UConn?
I don't know. I mean, I think that it's Jeremy Reed, right? I think he's really good. Like at what he does and what they try to instill as far as a high school program. I think they're definitely doing it the right way. I've been kind of waiting for Mustang to make that move, but they really haven't over the last couple of years. So I don't know. It's going to be fun. I mean, and then Bob and I will be going tonight to go check out Brendan Walker, Bishop McGinnis, Dominic Richardson as well. So that should be, it's here. It definitely is here.
Yeah, I feel like I dropped the ball with Walker last year. So many times could have seen him, and instead was keeping more on track about Richardson and realizing OU wasn't looking at him as much. So I didn't see the Irish nearly as many times as I should have. So I'm going to try to do back-to-back weeks with Walker here to get a feel of who he is. They play Dell City, which
always a good game.
Tremendous athletes.
Always a good game
to start the season next Friday. So
I feel like they've had some just
banking on
battles the last couple of years.
They have. It's been a lot of fun.
I just want to watch Rajon Tatum and Brendan Walker collide just for 3 or 4 snaps. Like that would be that's good. That's good TV.
I think that'd be really good. As we are now 2 minutes away.
2 minutes
from the start of the depth chart reveal. Depth chart reveal.
Facebook Live.
And I'll tell you right now, the season is won and lost in the next 30 minutes.
I'm only here for the Facebook comments.
That's what Eddie said.
They're going to be good. They're going to be really good. I can only imagine what it's going to be like.
2 years ago, they did a 30-minute show on Fox Sports. I don't remember what they did last year.
Thing,
they didn't do anything last year.
Here, real quick, before it gets into it, any surprises?
Yeah, because this is live. I mean,
Carey?
On the depth chart?
Right. But what is technically a surprise?
Yeah,
because it depends how much they use or.
I know that you.
If they don't make any definitive.
Yeah, I mean,
statements.
they're gonna be able to put ors. I mean, like even if Trajan Bridges had a great camp, do you really think they're gonna put him above a guy like Nick Basquin, who has fought tooth and nail to get back and play this year? It'd be an or situation. I mean, the most I could see on offense is if they put Braden Willis ahead of Jeremiah Hall.
I mean, is that?
But
I don't think that would be
too.
I think it'll be an or, but I don't even think that would be a surprise, would it? I kind of expect it.
Just because of seniority. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
RJ Proctor going to be an or like at 3 different positions.
I think he's the starting left tackle, and then he's an or at the right and the left guard spots probably. Now, Bill Bedenbaugh has said that his backup center is Isaiah McGyver, I believe. Ian McGyver, who is a walk-on. So I don't know that really instills. I mean, like usually what that says to me is so Tyrese Robinson, I've been told, is going to be one of the starters Sunday. Now, I don't know if that means there'll be an or there with Bray Walker, but I don't know. I mean, maybe it's because they're young and I'm overthinking this, but usually your second best guard is, or your first guard or something will be an or with the center. I mean, not an or, but a backup at center, like that. And they've had years where Jonathan Alvarez played. Remember when Ty Darlington was a center, Jonathan Alvarez was the backup center, but he was also the starting guard. So it doesn't really seem like they have that situation. And I don't know, maybe it's because they're so young, they just want those guys to concentrate on one position.
It's already out. Offensive depth chart.
The entire thing, huh?
Yeah. You got Eric Swinson starting at left tackle. Marquise Hayes starting at left guard. Creed Humphrey starting at center.
What?
Tyrese Robinson starting at right guard. Adrian Ely starting at right tackle.
There you go.
And then
we had it right.
CeeDee Lamb starting at the X.
So they don't have Proctor on the 2 deep. Oh, the Proctor's only on the 2. That's a bunch of bullshit right there. They have Proctor as the backup left guard to Marquise Hayes. They're playing mind games there. He's the starting left tackle. Swinson's hurt.
I'm with Carey. Please God, I'm with Carey.
Shaved head coming.
Yeah,
I've already told Tiffany. I've been telling Tiffany all week. I'm like, I think the hair's going to be okay. I think the hair's going to be okay.
They've got Finley Felix as the backup right tackle. I mean, I think he might be the backup right tackle because he's not. I've been told he can't go anywhere near the field as a starter at left. Like he's had a really bad camp from what I've been told.
Can you finish the starter since I don't
sorry.
have it in front of me?
CeeDee Lamb at the X. Then you have Nick Basquin as the starting slot. And then you have Mykel Jones or Drake Stoops backing him up. By the way, A.D. Miller or Theo Wees backing up CeeDee Lamb. Get Grant Calcaterra or Lee Morris as the Y or the tight end. And then you have Austin Stogner as the de facto third teamer. The other here's this is interesting. The other wide receiver, the Z, Trajan Bridges, is the starter, or Jaden Hazelwood. So you have two true freshmen.
Where's Rambo?
I just put in the comment section in all caps.
Or.
Who thinks OU
Rambo's
goes
an or.
undefeated?
Rambo's an or?
Yeah, so if you go, alphabetical, that is. So it's either Rambo, Bridges, or Hazelwood. And it's all or. So they didn't name a starter. Running back, they've got Kennedy Brooks or Trey Sermon with TJ Pledger, third team. There's no or on quarterback, so Tanner Mordecai is the number 2. Spencer Rattler is the number 3. But there is an or on the fullback, Jeremiah Hall or
Willis or Hall?
Braden Willis. So there you go.
In the Facebook comment section, I just put in all
no,
caps.
You didn't.
Who thinks OU's going undefeated?
And what does someone immediately reply to Eddie? Josh is in trouble.
Really?
Son of a... Yeah, that Britt Brown just replied, Josh is in trouble.
Funny.
If I've been blocked from the OU football Facebook page, I can't reply. I can't do anything.
Well, I guess we know who's running the account.
You have to follow to reply?
I was going to say, do you have to like it first, and then you're allowed to say something?
No.
Do I like it?
You know what's really messed up? Never mind. Okay.
I don't like it or follow it.
I don't know what's happening. It's live, but it's just a picture of the...
Uh-huh.
Are they talking?
I don't know. I can turn it up. Hold on.
12 preseason running back.
There it is.
Yeah, they're talking.
Just committed to violation.
Plank. What's up, Plank?
Plank is a big fan of the show. We like Chris Plank. He does a great job.
For sure.
Love Plank.
Yep. Brings me on when he knows it's going to...
Oh, there we go. I hit 65 comments, and there we go. Should I type LFG Plank but leave the F in? With all caps?
Eddie just having a field day in the comment section.
I thought Landry Jones might get the nod at QB. Oh, my God.
Sermon and Brooks. Can I say that I'm maybe a little surprised that Sermon isn't listed ahead of Brooks? I know they're or, but it really doesn't matter.
Should I tell him that I'm calling total BS on the offensive line?
Yes. What did Bill say? He feels confident with 7, and then there's an 8th guy.
Yeah, there's an 8th guy coming on. But what the main thing Bill said was this. Now Plank's still talking. God damn it. Oh, that's a GD. People really don't like GDs.
Oh, boy.
Oh, no. Problematic.
Oh, boy.
This is what Bill actually had to say. Turn it up. Turn it down. Can you tell us anything about who you're throwing out there?
No.
Actually, he did. He did. I tried to butter him up before I asked him that, and that didn't exactly. That wasn't exactly the way that it went. Well,
I will say, Carey, from what we when we talked to Bill yesterday.
Okay, here it is, Eddie.
Go ahead.
How do you feel about the starting lineup you're going to put out there, and do you expect that you'll have guys ready to go in and out depending on, or do you feel? I mean, I guess do you feel solid about it going?
Yeah, I do. But like I said last time, I mean, until those guys go out there, you never really know, But we've been practicing good. They've been preparing good. So now it's just about getting out there, getting on the field, seeing what your starting point is. This is a starting point, So as long as it's a good starting point, and then we get better from there, I think we'll be fine. Now how much depth, I don't know. I don't know for sure. We may have to find out. I think we got 6, 7 that you feel pretty good about. There's an 8th guy kind of coming on, but you never know. Some guys may be forced to play.
Can you tell us anything about who you're throwing out there?
No.
So, yeah, no, it wasn't
Thank
worth
you.
buttering up.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
One word. I love when Bill gives those one-word answers.
I would say this, Josh, like if they are trying to hide the R.J. Proctor thing, it's because they don't want them to know who their starting left tackle is.
Which makes sense. I mean, it's
because
a guy
their guy that, I mean, they have a young guy, I can't even remember his name, that played like 4 games and had like 5 sacks or something at the end of last year. I imagine that's probably who they're trying. They're probably trying to make sure he's not switching sides, or if he is on that side, that he doesn't have a chance. Because let's face it, there's a lot of tape on R.J. Proctor out there.
Exactly. I mean, they can look at him, Eric Swinson, or they can go look at his high school tape. They're not going to know anything on him. Proctor, they can build a little bit of a book on.
All right, we got a starting defense.
We have a
now.
defense? All right.
Across the front, Perkins, Gallimore, Redmond, Radley, Hiles, Sylvie at the nickel, or Mike Murray, Will, Ryan Jones, or Deshaun White. Ryan Jones listed first.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's all the ords are alphabetical.
Here's a little bit of a surprise, maybe.
This is
Nick Benito listed at the Russian starter alongside John Michael Terry.
Is that an or?
Yes, it
sir.
is an or.
Yes, sir. And then Motley.
Well, wait. David Agwebu is number 3 at the Russian.
I'm telling you, all I've heard is he's scary, just athletic.
I mean, he better be, because he's skinny.
He is.
He better be able to play without people touching him or getting their hands on him. There has been a starter at cornerback, Eddie, named.
Quarterback?
Corner.
Oh, cornerback.
A definitive starter. Which this is the weirdest thing. Parnell Motley and no Jordan Parker anywhere.
It's very interesting.
Should have written that story. I'm sorry.
Jordan Parker's behind Trey Brown.
Oh, there he is. Okay. So he's on the other side of it. Again, but could be, don't want to give anything away on the defensive side. It's like, hey, let's screw with them at least at one position on each side.
So we're not putting any stock in any of these. This is basically what we're saying.
No, I mean, I will say I was told that Jordan Parker got banged up a little bit.
Right.
And that Motley's played really, really well.
I will say, backing up Motley is listed as Jaden Davis. I keep hearing he's had a really good summer in camp.
You see Jaden Davis, and there's Miguel Edwards along with Jaden Davis listed as co-backups.
Yeah.
But you do not see Woody Washington.
Woody Washington's behind Turner.
It's strong safety. There it is.
Which makes a lot of sense. He's got more size than any of the other corners in this class. So I wondered if maybe he'd get a look.
He does have great size.
Mm-hmm. He's a big, good-looking guy.
And what's interesting there is he's an or with Robert Barnes, who, I don't know, guys. I mean, Bob, let me ask you this. Like, do you kind of get a sense like Robert Barnes, not that he's in the doghouse, but there's not really like a whole lot of love for Robert Barnes?
There's not. And he was the guy I thought would emerge and sort of be the star the next 2-3 years. And it hasn't panned out that way at all. If it's injuries, if it's just he's not really gelling with what Grinch is wanting to get done. But, I mean, we talked to him like back the first day of camp, basically. And you didn't get the feeling like he was about to make that leap.
Yeah.
And that's a little concerning because he needed to be. He needed to be someone who felt like this was his last year.
We talked about that on one of the pods. Like, he seemed kind of defensive and, not really outgoing.
I have angered some people in the
Facebook group. You've 3-year Letterman'd your way into the Facebook group.
My last one was, all caps, does anyone think Jalen Hurts is actually an Alabama spy? That's what my cousin's husband told me.
Someone responded, you sound like an old.
All right, and I think we will all exit out of that together. Log out. There we go.
Okay, let's see. We mentioned that Justin Broiles had not been named. His name had not come up much. He is listed as a co-backup along with Robert Barnes at the free safety position. So Patrick Fields.
I've thought about
Patrick
multiple
Fields,
times during
Delarian
this preseason.
Turner-Yell, Parnell Motley, and Trey Brown. That's your starting secondary.
I've actually wondered to myself, is Robert Barnes still on this team? Multiple times throughout the preseason camp, just because his name literally has not come up once.
Broiles and Barnes have
kind
not
of interesting
been mentioned that often.
Have you guys seen him this camp? Like, have you seen Barnes moving around, like, out there at all?
Only for those 5 minutes.
How does he is he big enough now to, like, maybe we could move you to linebacker?
I think he's lost weight, personally.
Really?
When I've seen him. He looks like he's slimmed up some. I don't know. I saw that Alabama hit again the other day. Josh Jacobs just railing into him. That was so ugly. I mean, I don't know what that did to him because he told us he didn't have a concussion, which to me is worse. Like, if you did have it, did you have a neck injury? Like, did you have a vertebrae injury? Like, what else would it be that would keep you out of spring?
I'm just looking at it now that it's been posted by Eddie here. Where's Kenneth Mann?
Well, he's been hurt, and that's on me. That's on us because we haven't really asked about Kenneth Mann. You remember Lincoln announced before camp that he was going to be
limited.
But now, he actually said that he would be out to start camp. So he obviously has not progressed to the point that he could get out there yet.
Mark Jackson's not on there either.
I just saw. I was just noticing the same thing being brought up, Eddie. That's interesting.
Of course, this isn't. Kenneth Mann was. They have a mic and a wheel and a rush.
He was a captain last year.
Yeah.
Is that not insane? And you know what? I think it's good. Like, we were talking to Teddy Lehman this week, and he is extremely, extremely high on Oklahoma's front seven.
Yeah.
Now, again, we're going to have to see it on Sunday night, but at the very least, it does give you thought, can this group get it together? That's a group that has played a lot of football, and a lot of football at the division, obviously at Oklahoma.
By the way,
guys,
one thing we didn't mention, and I was kind of curious before we started, is Corey Robinson is listed third team at the tackle.
Oh, and they spelled his name wrong. It's
Robinson. Robinson.
It's Robertson. They have Robinson.
But I'd say it's fair to you, Carey. It does say Robinson.
It says it.
Yeah.
DM them, ask them if they want to fix that.
Eddie, get on there, man. Just say who's K. Robinson.
I logged out. Was I?
The other thing was, Alex Grinch really praised Marcus Stripling, and he's backing up Ronnie Perkins, and it's an or situation with he or Isaiah Thomas. So for Teddy Lehman to come out and say that, you look at what they're doing. This is all new people, like other than Ronnie Perkins and Neville and your nose tackle, but Marcus Stripling, Isaiah Thomas, I don't care. I know he's been here, but he's new. Jalen Redmond, new. LaRon Stokes, new. Corey Robertson, new.
Oh, this is a good point. All the oars from the bagman, all the oars are listed in alphabetical order.
That's what
I said that.
Did you? I wasn't listening.
You were too busy. You were too busy scanning, and you were updating the board. I know. I'm not shitting on you.
Interesting.
That was Josh that wants to shit on you, not me.
You said with Trajan Bridges, you noticed it right away.
Yeah.
They're all in alphabetical order if it's an or.
There goes the season.
Thank God we have a limiter now on this podcast.
Unbelievable.
So Josh, just quickly, like I said, all these new faces on the defensive line. Kind of your thoughts on that?
Well, you look at this list: Ronnie Perkins, Marcus Stripling, Isaiah Thomas. Those are all either Army All-American. Those are big-time recruited guys. Gallimore was an Army All-American. Jalen Redmond would have been if he would have emerged a little earlier in his career. But was a guy that ended up top 50 in one group's rankings. So, LaRon Stokes had an Oregon offer. Corey Roberson, was a big-time guy that I think could have really taken off last year if he hadn't gotten hurt early in the season. Then you look, Kenneth Murray. There are guys that were really highly recruited here amongst this group. And if Oklahoma can get all that pointed in the right direction, that's a lot of athleticism in the front seven. You talk about Kenneth Murray, Ryan Jones, or Deshaun White. Those are three guys that can really run. Then you get Nick Bonito, who's, I almost you have to say, well, he's a South Florida guy. That almost says, yep, okay, he can go too. There's a lot to like there. In the secondary, if you're going to buy Parnell Motley, I mean, there's pieces to, like I like the personnel. It's just a matter of, can you get it aimed in the right direction? Now, I will say I agree. You know, I've seen a lot of, obviously I watch when you guys, bring the videos to the board, stuff with Alex Grinch. It's clear depth is a problem for this defense. I mean,
and in his position, specifically.
Yeah, exactly. The fall off is real for some of these guys, but there's every reason to think that, the frontline guys should be able to make plays if they're in a position to do so, I guess you'd say.
I will say this. What's to me, what's most impressive about this depth chart is all the talk that we've had about it. It was real. I'm not discounting anything, but all the conversation and hand-wringing over Tim Kish's recruiting of linebackers, which was all warranted, but you look at that linebacker position, it doesn't look so bad now. I mean, Levi Draper, I think that there's, for the fappers out there, he is the backup along with Brian Meade. And then, Deshaun White and Ryan Jones, if he's really doing this. And I think Brian Asamoah was banged up a lot of camp. So I would say that that's a good thing to see him at least listed on the depth chart, because that shows, even though he might not have gotten as many reps as other guys, they still believe he can be a really good player for them.
They're going to do special
teams? And then Nick
teams?
Benito up there. I mean, my God.
They're going to do special teams? Nobody cares.
I bet they won't.
Be faster heading
oh,
into
damn it. See? I can't.
Look what you make him do, Plank. He's
That's
so
not
upset.
Plank's fault. I mean, I would love to sit here and just let you guys listen to Chris Plank, but I think Sooner Sports Properties, we get pissed off about that. So, that's interesting. Has OU released it like on Twitter in a non-live Facebook format so I can just look at offense again?
Yeah, I think they put it up. Sooner Scoop Twitter account, which is almost to 50,000 followers, just put it out as well. Actually, it's been up for 10 and 15 minutes.
You wanted to reach 50,000 before the season started.
Is it viable?
Oh, yeah. Okay. 100%. Well, I mean,
we're going to need
to go viral. We got to do something.
For some reason, I was thinking we had a week left, but no, probably not. Hey, how cool is that? Sheldon Noisy got called up to the A's today.
Very cool.
You don't care.
What?
I've
got shit to do, all right? I'm trying to look at, you're trying to bring up baseball and a former OU player I know, and he was really good. I mean, I liked Sheldon Noisy. He was great. But I'm sitting here trying to look at the offense again to glean anything from that I missed. And I really didn't miss anything. I mean, the offense is so known. It's just, I'm still calling bullshit on this R.J. Proctor thing. Not even being at tackle lets me know. Either that or some people have really been messing with me.
Yeah, the thing for me that stands out is if Rambo hasn't separated himself, then maybe those freshmen are already going to take him over.
The other, sticking at receiver, Basquin, Mykel Jones, or Drake. I'll give you Basquin will get the start. I think that's a pretty safe assumption. How many here would be willing to bet Mykel Jones hits the field before Drake Stoops?
Well, I would say if we were coming out of spring, no way. But we've gotten a lot of good reports on Mykel Jones.
Yeah, he was very engaged.
Like Lincoln's brought him. Like Lincoln put his name in his mouth again. Like that hadn't happened in a while.
Is he the one guy that is probably the most overlooked?
Yes.
I saw I think it was Sooner Gridiron or somebody put out 4 days to or 3 days to the season beginning or whatever, and then they showed the 75-yard touchdown against TCU 2 years ago in the Big 12 Championship.
His only touchdown.
It was like, holy shit! I completely forgot that even happened.
Blew right past everybody.
I don't know.
What I think people forget is, because he told us during spring, he asked to be redshirted after the first 2 games. It wasn't because all of a sudden he fell off the face of the earth and he started sucking. He knew he was still too banged up with the shoulder, he asked Lincoln Riley, hey, I need to sit out the rest of the season. He was engaged the entire season. Like, he didn't look pissed when he was sitting on the sideline. He was part of the team. He just knew he couldn't be the guy that he wanted to be in 2018.
Josh, let me answer your question with my question. I don't know what your question would be. Here's my question back to your question. And it's not a question, it's a statement.
Stop it.
I'm so confused now.
But if A.D. Miller touches the field before Theo Weiss, I'm going to lose my shit.
I will again offer to buzz cut my hair. Shaving is not on the table, people.
Oh, my God.
Shaving was never on the table. But if Miller hits the field before Theo Weiss, yes. And I think, honestly, some of the coaching staff might need to consider the same. That's ridiculous. That should not happen. There's no way that should be possible. Even if Theo Weiss hasn't been great, you know what A.D. Miller is. He's never going to make an impact. I mean, he's not a guy that's going to change a game.
Just last year, he got tackled by an umpire. Let that sink in.
And you know what was the most surprising thing about that? He caught the ball.
Yeah.
Sorry. I'm sure AD's mom listens to the pod, and I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry. Like, it's not personal.
She doesn't anymore.
It just is what it is.
Yeah, I didn't say he can't catch the ball. I just said there is no way that he should touch the field before Theo Weiss.
Agreed. Hey, against South Dakota, man, you give him the run. Let that be his career night. That's fine. But against a reasonable opponent, you need to get your guys out there that can help you down the stretch, and that's Theo Weiss. It's just like what Clemson did last year with Trevor Lawrence. Sure, they could have won some games with Kelly Bryant, and they'd have been fine. They knew to win those games late in the season, there was one guy that could take them there, and they had to give him the chance to learn on the job and do it. That's what you've got to do with some of these young guys that are just flat out better than the guys that are in front of them.
Can I just say, since we're shitting on people, and I want to bring up something positive for A.D. Miller, I will say this. A.D. Miller, Jeffrey Mead makes you look like Ryan Broiles.
Oh, I don't know about that.
I just shit on someone else to compliment someone else that I shit on.
Jeff Mead had one great game in his career.
No, that's what I'm saying. Jeff Mead was f***ing horrible.
No, he's better than Miller.
He had better games.
I don't.
Against Iowa State, Jeff Mead was a viable option.
My memory does not recollect such things. Jeffrey Mead was terrible. Jeffrey Mead was the anti-Carson Meyer. Like, everyone collectively hated Jeffrey, even though he was a great guy. It's a great interview.
He's going to be mayor of Tulsa one day.
I hope he is the mayor of Tulsa.
You're not going to be invited into
the
town.
I will not be.
I'm going to be blocked by the university, and you're not even going to be allowed in the goddamn town.
It'll be Bob and I.
There'll be an edict by every government account, block Carey A. Murdoch on Twitter. Yeah, he is. I'll never get the key to the city of Tulsa. All right.
Not after that.
So, any other things that anybody wants to say that they notice about these depth charts?
Nothing about the depth charts as much as just maybe I don't even know, not a bigger picture type thing, but any lasting ideas out of the quote-unquote preseason from OU, whether it be talking to players, talking to coaches. I think that we talked about it last week on the podcast, just as far as every time I talk to the defensive guys, I kind of find myself walking away thinking, like, how dysfunctional was that thing last year?
Yeah.
Like, they go as far
how
to
messed up was it?
Yeah, they toe that line of basically saying, you don't even understand, man. We are so glad that Alex Grinch is here and the other guys aren't.
I mean, I don't think that's, it's not a secret that they had lost control or any hope of fixing it, because that's why ultimately Lincoln did what he did and got rid of Mike Stoops. Like,
sure.
It just got to a point where it's like it was toxic.
It was very toxic. I think maybe more toxic than I thought it was.
And here's what I look back on and realize is, we were all very like, Ruffin's just here to babysit. Like he was.
Yeah.
He was there to keep that thing from just completely falling into anarchy.
Which just tells you just
like he
how
wasn't
great
there
that
to
offense
call
was.
plays or
like
be a coordinator or any of that stuff. He was there to not babysit. That's not the right word, but he was there to just hold it together.
Not let the portal be full of the defense.
Oh God, yeah.
It just doesn't make sense that they've been so successful over the last 2 years. And I mean, it does when you look at what they were offensively, but for basically half the team to be that, I don't know. I mean, I guess dysfunctional / I don't know if they necessarily hated each other, but even like the Riley comment about, and it's
brotherhood?
It's all bullshit.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the brotherhood thing, like I kind of felt like that was a little bit of a shot at maybe the previous regime, just as far as they kind of believe in each other maybe more so now.
Yeah, I mean, I don't.
Am I reading into
think
it too
Lincoln
much?
is big on taking shots at people,
Yeah,
especially.
I don't think that it wasn't intended that way, but I think it kind of.
I definitely think some people will take it that way, and you could tell he was uncomfortable even saying it, but he just felt it, so he wanted to say it. But I think if Lincoln Riley has stays at Oklahoma, wins a national championship, writes a book one day, like the Mike Stoops final year, that's a chapter. I mean, and if he does, if Alex Grinch comes in and turns it around, like last year, and him making that firing that people wanted him to make, after the Rose Bowl, like that, the way that they handled it and put Ruffin in charge and kept everybody from transferring and kept it from turning into a big mess, like that's as big a deal as hiring Alex Grinch if he works out.
Yeah.
I mean, that is something that can't be ignored, the way that they handled that. And then, maybe that's why they didn't want to hire or fire Mike Stoops in the first place, is because he wasn't ready to go through all the, headache of what it was going to cause.
I just almost think that it was kind of one of those things, and it's easy to say this looking back on it, but it's almost like Lincoln thought, we're going to be good enough offensively, maybe we can get away with this. And as a young head coach, maybe that's not the best way to look at it. And he'd probably tell you, he'd be the first one to tell you he didn't handle that, the best that he probably could have. But at the same time, I think that they were almost like, it's almost like a car that that you need to take in, but you don't want to just say, basically it and buy a new car. So you just keep taking it in and getting it repaired and kind of almost halfway putting it all together. And then at the very end, you're like, well, shit, I've spent $20,000. I should have just bought a brand new car. Is that maybe like the worst analogy in the history of the unofficial 40?
Sounds like my air conditioning unit, to be honest with you. No, but look, all that is dependent on Alex Grinch being successful.
Exactly.
Like, he's got to turn it around first. Otherwise, it's just going to continue to be Lincoln Riley's all about offense, and they'll never turn around their recruiting on defense. They'll never be able to compete with LSU or Alabama or even Texas A&M. Which, by the way, doesn't have to produce shit, but still gets anybody they want.
SEC.
So anyway, Josh, any final thoughts, or are you already gone?
No, I'm still here.
Okay,
still here.
I know you got to
soaking up all this information. No, like I said, I think there's some interesting stuff. I think it's, we talked, or I don't know, maybe it was me listening to you guys last week talking about a lot of young guys, maybe weren't jumping into it. I think it's pretty clear that Oklahoma likes some of their young talent. I mean, for these guys to even be on the depth chart. I mean, I didn't even notice Jeremiah Criddell is behind Radley Hiles and Sylvie, so I was just kind of looking over things. So, I mean, there was a lot of freshmen and sophomores or just new names, new bodies. You mentioned Isaiah Thomas, LaRon Stokes. I mean, that defensive front, really, with the exception of Perkins and the nose tackles, is almost exclusively new people. I mean, just a total turnover there.
Yeah, and I mean, the Criddell thing, I mean, he was mentioned, kind of steadily throughout camp. And And was he mentioned Bob as a nickel though?
See, I'm wondering if he had the Trey Norwood effect when Trey went down. They said, Jeremiah, you need to go from safety to nickel.
Yeah,
and try this out.
Because I don't think he'd been mentioned right after the Trey Norwood injury, like that's when Grinch was naming names basically of who it was. So Eddie has something he needs to share, I think.
I was just informed on the Facebook chat that there is somebody complaining that Caleb Kelly was not included on the 2 deep.
And
now I'm running to
ACL.
Facebook to find it out.
Okay.
He is running OU nightly now.
Okay. Well, Josh, I guess we'll let you get on so you can get up to Frisco. I know that's not a fun drive, but going to go check that out tonight. And then you'll get now, I don't think the Wahlburgers is open in Frisco yet, unfortunately, for you. I don't even think it's been started.
Oh, you're at the Star, aren't you? Tonight?
No, I'm at Toyota. So soak up a little soccer.
It's even further up than the Star.
Both those places are just unbelievable high school venues, though.
Yeah,
I mean, those are
one's
two
an
pretty
MLS
damn good
soccer
options.
stadium, and the other's the nicest practice facility in the country. But you can stop and get you some. You have Shake Shack in Houston, don't you?
I think so, but I've never had it, and you guys talk about it enough that it's on my list of things that need to happen.
Also, lots of El Phoenixes in the Dallas area. You can take
that won't be happening.
That's
not a problem. Not a problem. I don't
actually. You know what?
I got to get home in an upset stomach while I drive. It's no good for anybody.
You know what? I will say that I know the difference between shit Mexican and good Mexican, and I'll gladly admit El Phoenix is shit Mexican, but I love it. But like Mi Cocina, I think you would really enjoy. That's very good.
What's that Italian place we went to the night before, like the Big 12 championship?
North Italia.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's up there in Legacy. Can't remember if that's Park or West.
Legacy
I'll
West.
Be sure
it's West. Yeah,
it was Legacy West.
Yeah,
I'll be sure to expense that one.
No, it's not that. I mean, it's like fast food Italian.
No, it's
like
fancy.
Fazoli on steroids.
You have to be wearing nice clothes to go into that. I mean,
you just have to be white.
Yeah, that that kind of. It's a lot of white people in that part of Plano, or that is technically in Plano.
What about my normal attire doesn't say nicely dressed, Carey? I'm a little offended by this.
Well, you are known for your flip-flops, as am I. So we set a terrible example for the rest of. Bob's the only one that dresses up.
I'm ready to go Sunday.
Got a clean suit ready?
I'm ready.
Got a clean look?
Trying.
It's been a long time since we've had a opening game as far as like the weather being nice. It's going to be beautiful.
It's going to be like in the 60s or something, isn't it? I mean, like almost.
Well, I think 80s, and then the low.
It's going to drop down.
It'll drop. It's going to be perfect Sunday night.
So that'll be nice. But Josh, we'll let you get out of here. We're going to run down a little bit more of what we talked to players and coaches about at practice this week before we get out of here. So appreciate it, and we'll have you back next week, maybe, if Bob allows it.
Oh, sounds good. I will be listening, and I listened last week, so, whatever.
By the way, did you get some extra loving during your anniversary, at least?
I did want to alert Eddie that there is absolutely no risk of children, so we're going to be all good. No worries.
Well, I still have the calendar circled for 9 months from now.
I guess the guy that I know that went and got one went to a different type of doctor because he needed a donut, but people say that you don't need donuts.
Yeah, there was people adamant.
There are very strong opinions on donut or not.
I am restricted very little on what I can and cannot say on this podcast. I can say that there is no risk, but I didn't have any donut situation. There was no cause for that. This is we're good though. The McQuistion breeding factory is closed and it's no longer open for business. So,
what if somebody pays you for your sperm?
Well, I mean that offer happens a lot. Surprisingly, there's a lot of people that are like, boy, I'd really like my son to be a recruiting reporter someday.
We have been having the discussion because of some of the
selling
Twitter,
Josh's sperm.
No, the Twitter reaction to Jalen Hurts and Alabama fans that are female. We're wondering how many times Jalen Hurts has been propositioned by Alabama women, especially Cougars.
I got to get this off my chest. I think it's weird. Is that okay to say? Like, I just think
Tony's
it's kind
gonna
of.
be mad.
I don't care. Like, I just think it's kind of. I don't know. Like, what other sports do you see that? I guess NBA basketball is a little bit like you become a fan of a person or a player, and you want to see them do well. And I don't have a problem with that.
I told you, Alabama people are different, man.
Yeah, and that's fine. It's a
level.
passionate fan base. That's fine.
And I know. I know people some of these fans got mad at me, but you're proving that you are on a different level, and you can, if you want to take that as a negative, fine. I'm not saying it as a negative. You have a passion that borders on mental health issues. Like, that's an accurate medical diagnosis from me, Dr. Murdoch. Some of you have that.
And I don't understand
I'm not
how
saying you're
people
over the line. I'm just saying you have some issues.
She and others like her seem like perfectly nice people.
Yeah.
But they're rabidly obsessive. Like, those two things can be true. Like, it doesn't have to be one or the other. They both can exist together.
And I'm sorry, but, nobody was, I don't know of anybody that was following Trevor Knight to go watch A&M games after he transferred out.
Maybe some people in the BFJ Army were.
Yeah.
Did Connor even watch his game?
I mean, they weren't 40 and 50-year-old women.
No,
they were
true.
super hot Instagram models.
That's true. It's true.
Or Clemson cheerleaders.
It's different. It's different.
I mean, Katy Perry openly campaigned to bang him on national television.
Looking back on it, too, that was the right decision not to pursue that on Trevor Knight's part.
Well, at the time, it wasn't.
Yeah, it's true.
Now you can say that. Katy Perry now, he wasn't getting Katy Perry now. He was getting Katy Perry in 2000 and what was that? 14?
Yeah, she was going into the Super Bowl.
She had a lot less mileage on those tires then. Although she had a lot of mileage then.
Was she banging Russell Brand at that time?
She married Russell Brand.
Married. Wow.
She had just gotten divorced not too long before that.
Oh.
Because you just assume he really is all the snow. You just assume that's really his life story.
He's
just a walking STD.
I do, Josh. That's basically who I envision Russell Brand as. Him.
Do you know him from Forgetting Sarah Marshall or Get Him to the Greek or both?
Both.
Okay.
But more so, not Sarah Marshall, the other one.
Get Him to the Greek.
Get Him to the Greek.
Because that.
But Forgetting Sarah Marshall, probably a top 15 movie in my movie.
It's great, man. It's
in my movie Rolodex.
Wow. I mean, it's amazing that we can share a movie.
Dracula musical.
That's what Bob loves about it.
Now I do get Jason Sudeikis and
Jason Segel.
Those two I get completely mixed up.
Jason Sudeikis is married to Olivia, what's her name? Wilde. Like,
I don't know.
Do you know who Olivia Wilde is?
I know who Olivia Munn is. We went to high school together. We're very close friends on Twitter, by the way.
Well, I'm followed by Chrissy Teigen, so there.
I don't believe that.
Go look it up.
I think I will.
Go look it up, bitches.
Am I going to look it up and she's going to be one of those people that follows like Soledad O'Brien follows like 254,000 people?
No, she follows like 4,000 people. I think me and Kersey are one. And Kersey is only followed because he sucked up to her and told her how he bought her cooking books and all her cooking utensils. And he was mad because she followed me, but not him.
That's not a good look, Kersey. Come on.
Oh,
You're better than that.
Thirsty.
Yeah,
see, now 5,000. You get a podcast, Kersey. Now the war is on.
The thirst
is
real.
All right, I'm going to follow her.
The Kersey thirst.
This will be a test. I'm going to follow her. We'll see if she follows back.
Does Jared follow you? Yes, follow will.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think all of them.
Because I think she probably follows me because she's friends with Lily Aldridge, and then therefore she's friends with the Follow Wills. And Jared and I talk on Twitter and stuff, and so I think that's why she started following me.
We'll see. See how this goes.
The thirst is real here.
I can't believe we're Twitter thirst trapping Chrissy Teigen on the podcast.
Didn't see that heading in the
Get
OU
back to
Houston.
football.
It's amazing. I was supposed to leave 10 minutes ago, and I stayed for this.
All right, go. Get out of here.
We'll see you, Josh.
All right, later, guys.
Okay. We will get back to football. Josh is gone, even if he was still there.
He derails everything.
I don't know if that was really him. We kind of all have our hand in doing that. Okay, so back to football. We did get a chance to talk to Jalen Hurts. Tony, I to be honest, I love your passion. It's. I don't want to say you're mentally ill. I'm sorry if it came off that way. It's just I don't get going that far. It's crazy. I mean, I'm not saying you're crazy. I'm just saying that's Alabama. Like, nothing surprises me about the Alabama fan. So, we did have a chance to talk to Jalen Hurts about being named the captain, something he never was at Alabama. Of all the the way that people revere him, he never was the captain at Alabama, and he talked about becoming the captain at Oklahoma.
That's probably the biggest thing to me up to this point. I know at Alabama, I played a significant role on a lot of their teams there in my 3 years, and not being a captain, being a captain was always my goal and really one of my dreams, going down in the Denny Chimes and all of that. But at this home with this family, my teammates have voted me captain, and only been here 7.5, 8 months or whatever, 8 months. It's a blessing, It's kind of surreal, but I'm happy. I'm happy.
Go ahead, Eddie.
Two things.
Mm-hmm.
Denny Chimes, had no idea what that was. Had to go home and look it up last night. It's a chimes bell tower in the middle of Tuscaloosa, in the middle of campus. Every captain gets their hands and feet put in cement. Thought that was pretty cool.
That is pretty cool.
I had no idea that they did that. The other thing, just listening to that, and somebody put it on the board, and I kind of laughed at it and thought it was an Olds comment, but the more I started thinking about it, I'm going to ask you guys, is Jalen Hurts from a leadership standpoint almost the perfect, not example, but the perfect fit for what Oklahoma needs right now, as far as, they've gone through the leadership and captainship of Baker. He was boisterous. Kyler kind of just had a little bit of a fig jam in him. You just kind of followed, and you kind of knew that he was going to be good because all he's done his entire life is win. And then you have Jalen Hurts now that is a third different personality, but perhaps a better fit for what they have, because they don't really have that, that I don't want to say they don't have that guy that's going to go out in front of people and talk, because I don't think Jalen Hurts is that guy, but at the same time, maybe just a more of a workman-like attitude, as far as he just is here to basically be on that you tour of what I've been kind of talking about the last couple of weeks. Is that kind of perfect for what this team needs?
I don't know if it's perfect, but it might be perfect for some guys like Theo Weiss and Trajan Bridges and Jaden Hazelwood.
That's kind of what I'm getting at.
And you know who else it's good for?
This offensive line?
Spencer Rattler.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's good for Spencer Rattler to see that, because, Bob, you watched all the QB1, right?
I did.
And he kind of did he have a little shithead in him a little bit, or was he...
I think what most people took away from it was the way he interacted with the backup quarterback. And they couldn't tell if they were such good friends that when they went back and forth with each other, they didn't care, or if Rattler was just dogging him the entire time. Yes.
Yeah, I only watched the end just to get the context of it, and I plan on going back and seeing the whole thing, but I just watched the end to get the context of it. And I saw some of that, and I didn't think that he was being a jerk. But then I saw other people comment on the way he reacted on the field, and the thing he said to some of his teammates, that they felt like it was kind of, I don't know, disrespectful, but not really okay or whatever.
A little bit. I think that was the biggest thing, is if you don't know his relationship with the backup quarterback, then you didn't know how to take their interactions.
But it's got to be, like, if you're coming to Oklahoma and you're Spencer Rattler, and you know the history of like Baker Mayfield, and you see him in Cleveland, and you know how he is, it's like every kid probably thinks, oh, it's okay for me to act like that if I'm at Oklahoma. When, in theory, it's not. You have to be a hell of a football player. And let's face it, Baker wasn't, as Eddie said, boisterous, which I don't know if you got toilet paper of the day going right now, but you're using all kinds of cool stuff over there lately. You went fig jam there too. I noticed that.
I took pre-workout before I came. Kind of wired up.
But like Baker had to earn that
he wasn't
type
that guy
of personality.
In 2015.
No,
he was not.
So to think that you can walk in and just be that guy, that's a mistake. And to see that it doesn't, not everybody has to do it that way. And this is the way Jalen Hurts. Now, Jalen has to be successful, or else everybody's going to say, well, you just do it like Baker. But everybody copies everybody. It's just like CeeDee Lamb saying shit in the middle of an interview. It's like, how many times has he seen Russell Westbrook cuss?
That was pretty awesome.
Or people in the NBA, it's just no big deal in interviews.
It's 2019, Eddie.
People need to get used to it. People cuss.
I'm going to pray for him.
Just don't pray for me.
Don't worry. Okay, so Jalen Hurts also, I think, we talked about his followers and, the fans that he still has from Alabama. And I think Jalen, not for the most part, he has been. He's been very respectful of everyone that supports him at Alabama. But yesterday, it was almost to me like he was saying, look, it's time for me to move on from that. I'm at Oklahoma now. And I'll just let you guys hear this, and you tell me if you think that's what he was saying.
Even after leaving Alabama, I feel like the fans down there are still rooting for you, still seem to love you. Where does that connection come from? I mean, how did you establish such a strong connection with that fan base?
Being the best version of myself. I don't know. I don't go out there and try to be anything I'm not. I'm never going to pretend to be something I'm not. I got a great appreciation for it, Alabama fans, and I hope they support me, continue to support me. But I'm here with the OU family now, so hope I have their support too. hope we can do some special stuff.
So it was almost like him. To me, it was like him saying, "Look, I'm a Sooner now."
And he was wearing OU gear last night.
Yeah, he was.
Uh-oh.
I haven't seen him not wear OU gear since camp started, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think we need to retire that joke at some point. It just, in a way, I think that he's probably over it.
He's being respectful still. I mean,
yeah, for sure. But I definitely
he'll never
think
turn
that,
his back on his Alabama days.
Never. And I don't think, why would he? I don't think, I mean, that's given him a lot of opportunity, basically. I mean,
and let's be honest.
Alabama gave him the opportunity to get to Oklahoma. And probably, I think that in progress his career, I don't think anybody's mad about it. He wasn't going to play this year at Alabama.
Let's be honest. When I follow Trevor Knight on Instagram, and whenever I see him tweeting out stuff in A&M gear, and I'm great to be back in College Station, I'm like, really? Okay.
Might be doing it for retweets, but I do.
But what
think,
I'm saying is, Jalen Hurts is probably always going to be an Alabama guy. I mean,
sure.
Unless he wins a national championship here, then it changes everything.
Sure.
But mostly college football is going to look at him as an Alabama guy, and because he's Alabama. Just because if he transferred here from Nicholls State or something, no, he'd be an Oklahoma guy. But he transferred from Alabama.
I do think that there was a little bit of last night. That was probably as open, as joyful as he's been. If that's maybe a weird,
beaming from being a captain.
He was very excited for that.
Yeah.
And I think it was something that in a way was a little bit of a, if we want to talk about the FU tour, it was a little bit of a, I should have been a captain at Alabama type thing. Mm-hmm. And now I finally have checked that box on his career resume. Didn't you think so, Bob?
For sure. I mean, he mentioned flat out that being a big goal of his. And you think about it, in 2016, he's a freshman. That's not going to happen, even though they go to national championship game. 2017, still a sophomore. You don't know how good he's going to be. That's when he has an awesome year before being replaced in halftime championship game. So you're thinking heading into the junior season, that would have been the time it could have happened. Like what we saw, Trevor Knight being named captain, even though Baker was the starter. Mm-hmm. But when that doesn't happen, that door sort of closes for him to be the guy Tuscaloosa. So, yeah, I think it meant a lot to him because voted by the teammates, and I didn't think it was going to be Hurts. I thought it was going to be Lamb. If I don't know why it's narrowed down to 4, it has to be 4 guys or something. But if there was going to be 4 guys, I thought it was going to be Lamb and Creed in terms of guys on offense.
Well, congratulations, Jalen Hurts. You can go to Big 12 Media Days next year and represent he's a senior.
Oh.
He can do something. I don't know what he'll do. I was going to make something up, but I don't even know what he would do. Yeah.
So here's CeeDee Lamb talking about Jalen Hurts a little bit.
Are you excited for him? Just knowing what he's been through, the journey he's been on here, and just to for him to go out there and show what he can do for fans. Are you excited just to see that part of it?
Oh yeah, most definitely. The guy can ball, and I can't wait. And he slept on obviously a lot, believe it or not. And he's going to do a great job of imposing his will on anybody, and I can't wait to see it. Just as well as y'all.
And for the olds, being slept on means that people have not been giving him his due, his proper due, his props.
Who's that?
Surely people know what slept on means.
I think so.
Yes.
You can't be old enough to not know.
I don't think you pay attention to sports if you don't know what that means these days.
Yeah. No.
And let me tell you, everybody's being slept on. No matter if you're the number one player in the country or if you're the 150th.
I think I've seen Odell Beckham Jr. talk about how the Browns have been slept on recently.
Everybody's talking about you, bud.
No.
I do think it's funny.
Okay, now we've talked a lot about the fact that the depth chart was released. We broke it down. We highlighted Trajan Bridges was an or along with Jaden Hazelwood and Charleston Rambo. Theo Wees was second along with A.D. Miller behind CeeDee Lamb, and then Austin Stogner was on the depth chart as well. CeeDee Lamb actually was asked about the young guys, all four of those guys, and his impressions.
You're going to have to wait and find out.
Could it change every week, I guess?
I mean, yeah, everybody. You never know who's going to have the hot hand. That's how I feel. That's just how this offense goes.
And I cut that up bad. My apologies. But basically, he was saying he had no idea who the number 2 wide receiver was going to be because everybody is capable of basically stepping up at any time, which I think he's not screwing around. Like, he's so close with Charleston Rambo, I figured he might say, like, oh, I think Charleston Rambo will be that guy.
Rambo's made the leap. You need to stop sleeping on him, but I don't know. I mean, I thought this would be his time. If it's going to happen, it's going to be.
And we didn't see Rambo.
It's going to be this season if it's ever going to happen.
And then an or after him. Like,
right.
He was included in the or, so he didn't outright win the job. Which is, I think, probably the one disappointment of that depth chart on offense. Outside of the lying about R.J. Proctor.
Unless Trajan and Jaden are just so damn good that you can't keep them off the field. It doesn't matter how good Rambo is. There's no definitive number 1 guy there because they're all going to bring something to the table.
And you know what it also says to me is that besides all those slot guys, I mean, Mykel Jones and Drake Stoops, they really like those guys because I think Bridges would have been in that mix. It's almost like he got bumped to the outside.
Right. The top of versatility, the entire camp, go inside, outside. Because I said he'd be the number 1 guy because he'd be the slot. He'd be inside. He'd get the most chances. He'd make the most of them. But if they're going to move him outside, it does speak well to what maybe some Mykel Jones or what Basquin brings to the table too.
All right. Want to kind of wrap it up here. Let's do it this way. And we've got predictions to write still. But Bob, I'll start with you. What is not a score prediction? I'm not really interested in that. How do you think, as far as the game goes, the tone of it, what is your expectation Sunday?
I think it's going to be back and forth for at least the first quarter and a half, and it's going to be that first turnover that gets everyone to exhale and start playing like the way they need to. I don't know if it's going to be a fumble or interception, but when they get that first turnover, then they start to separate, and then you start seeing the defense play a lot more freely instead of being so. I think it'll be really wound up and tight. I do. I think they're going to be so focused on making the takeaways, the 2 per game that Grinch has talked about, and trying so hard to prove what happened the last 2 years is a thing in the past, that they might actually make a couple mistakes in the first couple of years.
Boat race.
Really?
I think it's going to be an ass kicking. I think it's going to be closer to last year as far as Oklahoma, Florida Atlantic, and built up into a game that people thought, well, this could be an upset special type thing. when in reality, and don't get me wrong, I think that Derek King is very, very good.
I think it's De'Aaron now.
Is it
I think we've
De'Aaron?
established, yeah.
I think he's very good, but at the same time, look at the teams that he tore up last year. It was the Tulanes. It was,
and then he was hurt, and he didn't have to. Like, he didn't play in the bowl game against Army.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those things that not necessarily Houston's running into a freight train. I don't think OU's going to win 70-3, but I think there's a better chance that it's a blowout and closer to what Vegas thinks, as opposed to, you look up in the fourth quarter and it's a one possession game.
When you say blowout, would you say like 50-17 or 21, something like that?
Yeah, I'd buy that. 50-21, something like that. Like
just trying to gauge what
I think
you think
75%, 80% of the money is coming in on Houston, and usually in that scenario, I love to fade the public because Vegas makes money off of people like that look at lines and say that's way too big. And it's easier for Oklahoma to play this game at home. King starting in Norman, it just kind of plays into the thought that I think OU could win, and OU wins by a lot.
I think this is the most important quote, the important soundbite to remember from this week, and this is from Lincoln Riley during his press conference on Monday.
Doesn't matter if they go well, don't go well. It's going to be the one thing you can guarantee is it's going to be complete overreaction by the public on every part of it. So that's just the nature of the beast that we deal with. For us, Houston certainly is, I think, fair to say, more of a challenge offensively than what we saw in our non-conference last year. I don't think there's any doubt about that, especially with the quarterback. I mean, he's a game changer for them. But we're going to go play this one as hard as we can, and then we'll get ready for the next one.
And no one has been emphatic in terms of, oh yeah, this thing's it's gonna turn around immediately. Like the players, the coaches, they are all prepared for a process that is going to take place in this defense getting better. But no one, look, what I'm trying to say is fans, don't go in there expecting 3 and outs every time Houston is on offense. Don't go in there expecting a shutout. You're going to be disappointed. The players aren't going in there with that. Like, they're going in there with the mentality that they want to, they want to win every play, but they also want to get turnovers. They want to get the ball back to their offense. They want to play fast. But they're not going to be ready to go over on the sidelines and commit Carey if they give up a score. They know that this defense and fixing this defense is going to be a process. Because that's like one thing I was asking guys this week. How are you going to deal with adversity? And every single person said there's going to be adversity. We just have to deal with it and move on and listen to our coaches.
I think there was a quote from, I think it might have been Chance Sylvie. It was either Chance Sylvie or Patrick Fields. I can't remember, one of the two. And he just said something as far as you give up a big play, make a big play the next play.
I think it was Chance Sylvie that said it.
I kind of like that.
I was trying to see if I had some people talking about that, but I can't get it pulled up. So I do think OU will win this by, I don't know if they're going to cover the spread. What was it like? It went up to like 37 or something, or was it 27?
Wasn't it the start of 28? I have no clue what is that.
I was looking this morning. I don't have it. I'm surprised Eddie doesn't have it by memory, Mr. Parlay. But
the what? Sorry.
The line on this game.
Tonight?
Yeah,
OU's
game
tonight. I'm doing some gambling stuff right now.
His head was buried in his cell phone.
26.5, I think, is the number right now.
I think it was 27 this morning. I don't know. I don't think they'll cover that. I think, and I feel that way about every team that's out there playing this weekend that's had major turnover in either quarterbacks, coordinators, or even head coaches. Like, I just don't think that a lot of people are going to cover the first week that are really big favorites. And 27 against Houston, that's a big number.
It's a big number. See what Clemson is tonight against
37,
a
right?
Conference opponent.
Is it 37?
Yeah, 36,
Whoa.
37 against Georgia Tech.
And it was like 35 yesterday or something. Like that number.
Oh, it opened at like 27 and just started rising.
Wow.
Still hasn't stopped. It's crazy.
Does anybody have the ACC network in Oklahoma?
I don't know. Do we?
Where is it? Like,
is it on Cox?
Is it what? Is
I don't know if Cox even offers it.
Who offers it?
I guess I don't.
You'd have to be on like DirecTV or something like that, I guess.
Yeah, I don't have it.
So anyway, guys, any final thoughts? I mean, game time. Let me remind everybody, if you're not a subscriber to the Oklahoma Sooners post game, go to iTunes, click on subscribe. We will stay up late.
You got to stay
on Sunday night.
Crazy.
It'll be an all-nighter.
It will be an all-nighter for Eddie and I because we have morning radio shows. But at least Lincoln has moved his press conference to Tuesday, so we can get to kind of sleep in. Well, no, we can stay up, but then we can go to sleep after our radio shows. That's how I'm planning on doing it. But we will be burning the midnight oil to provide you a post-game podcast. So thanks to Eskridge Lexus, who is sponsoring it once again this year. So Ed, shouts out to you. Those checks will continue to come in, or be those invoices, I guess, they'll be sent, and they'll be taking care of us with trips this year, which is always great, getting to test out the new cars on Lexus. So go by and see Ed. Even if you're listening to Dallas, whatever, look up Eskridge Lexus and give them a call. Tell them you listen to the Sooner Scoop podcast, and they will do you a deal on a new Lexus. So go and subscribe. Oklahoma Sooners post game. Oklahoma Sooners post game. We're on Spotify now. That is on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, wherever you listen to your podcast. Oklahoma Sooners post game. So we'll be back on Sunday night, early Monday morning. So on your Labor Day weekend, you'll be able to listen to our post game pod. Appreciate Bob and Eddie for being troopers on that as well. And I'll open up the floor one last time. Any final thoughts before OU takes on Houston?
I'm just ready for Sunday.
It's always weird, like you find yourself sitting in the press box going like, God, it's a new season. I can't believe it. Because it seems like we just stopped. I mean, there's been a lot of shit that's gone on, but it doesn't seem like we've been gone from the Orange Bowl that long ago, which is nice. Eddie? Any final thoughts? Awful or otherwise?
No, I don't think so. Ready to get this thing going.
All right. We're ready to. We'll be check us out, Soonerscoop.com. Now that you've got the Wi-Fi in the stadium, you can follow the Sooner Scoop account. If you listen to this podcast, you don't follow at Sooner Scoop on Twitter, I don't know what's wrong with you. Also, Facebook.com/Soonerscoop. So you can keep up with us as we'll be live tweeting throughout the game. Also doing our instant analysis on the Crimson Corner. So go check us out. Support the pod by supporting Soonerscoop.com. Grab yourself a membership. And we'll be back again for the post-game pod and back again on the Unofficial 40 next week after the Sooners play Houston in the home opener. Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll be back again next week on the Unofficial 40 from Soonerscoop.com.